Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/OhNoConsequences. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Got a spooky announcement real quick. Right now GamerSupps is doing a bit of a Halloween ghost girl waifu drop thingamabob. And for every purchase made above $50, you get free worldwide shipping. This is starting today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to snag that, because it's limited while supplies last. Originally posted to r/relationship advice in a now deleted post. My son, male 28, has accused me, male 64, of treating him like a second-class citizen. My son, Phil, cut most contact with me and our family when he moved out. So far, about 7 years now, we barely hear from him apart from holidays and such. This last Christmas he visited, which he doesn't do usually, and he revealed that he had gotten engaged. My wife and I, as well as our other son Carl, were all shocked since we didn't even know Phil was seeing anybody. Turns out they've been together for years, and he just never told us. We congratulated him, but I reached out after New Year's and asked him to talk. This last week we met for coffee. I told him that it was kind of hurtful that we never even knew about his relationship until Christmas. He sat and listened, and after I had finished, he said, "Okay," and nodded. No other response or reaction. I asked him if there was anything he wanted to say about it, and asked if somehow I'm out of line for feeling hurt about this. Little did I know this was going to set him off. Phil asked if I wanted him to be honest, and of course I said yes. He said that knowing about his life and his relationships after he moved out of the house was not a right, and it was a privilege that our family and I didn't have. I was shocked by this and asked if I had somehow offended or slighted him. And he got the most incredulous look on his face. He asked if I was being serious, and I said yes, I am, because I truly didn't know what he was talking about. This is when he said that for the 2 decades that he lived with us, our entire family had treated him like crap, and like he was a second-class citizen. His first complaint was about his bedroom. Phil and his older brother Carl, male 31 now, shared a bedroom when they were children. When Carl was around 15, he felt uncomfortable sharing a room with Phil, and really wanted his own space. We didn't have a spare bedroom, so one day when Phil was at school, we moved his things out of Carl's bedroom, and from then on, his bed was in the corner of our upstairs living room. We had a partition set up so he could have some privacy. What the fuck? His second complaint was about food. When he was far younger, he was really very picky and only wanted to eat plain pasta or buttered toast. We tried everything to get him to open up with his food, but he just never did. He learned how to toast bread and make pasta, and honestly, after about 10 years of this, my wife kind of stopped cooking for him. He eventually did start eating normal food, but he'd make it himself. His third and final complaint was about chores. Carl has mild OCD and clinical depression, and I'll admit that in this instance, we did allow him a bit of leeway that Phil didn't get. Carl didn't clean the house either, but one of Phil's regular chores was cleaning his room. It seemed normal at the time, but in the cafe, Phil made it seem like we were using him like a slave. He said for years he was scrubbing toilets and cleaning a room that wasn't even his. He's referring to having had to clean Carl's room a few times. When times were tough, we'd ask him to clean Carl's room as well as his, and another regular chore was bathroom duty. Listing it all out in the cafe, it was hard to disagree with him. At the time, when he was younger, it all seemed like normal family stuff. I asked him why he never talked to us about this and never brought it up, and his response was that he didn't feel comfortable enough with us. I was really upset and confused by now. I said that he lived with us for over 2 decades and he never once communicated this, and that I'm sorry, but this was just all news to me. He scoffed and said that I can't act like it's news that living in a corner for years made him feel like crap. He stopped engaging the conversation and said basically the following: "I appreciate what you and Mom did for me, but I never felt welcome in your house, and I decided that we shouldn't be in much contact when I moved out. We're all happier now. So I don't see a reason to change that. I love you, but this is just the way it's going to be from now on. I'll send you an invite to the wedding." When I got home, I told my wife about all of this, and she was angry. She said it was unfair of Phil to drop all of this on me, and that he had never once complained or said anything about it at the time, and that he was making his childhood sound worse than it was as an excuse to cut us out. I calmed her down, but she's still upset at him. I'm not. I remember the things Phil talked about, and he's right to feel angry and upset. I just want to know how I can repair my relationship with him. He's still my son, and I want to build a relationship with him. What do I do? How do I fix this? Too long didn't read. My son, who went low contact with my family, is now accusing me, there it is, of mistreating him as a child. I want to repair our relationship, but I don't believe he was treated that poorly. Help! And that's why we read the Too Long Didn't Reads, because there's devils in the details sometimes. I actually almost started to have a little bit of sympathy based upon the final few sentences, as if there might be a chance of self-reflection. But that final Too Long Didn't Read? Oh boy! Does that spell out how you actually feel? You clearly had a favorite, and you can't even argue the contrary to that, because at the single and simple request from Carl, without questioning it or trying to talk him down from it, you moved out Phil. Without even talking to him, and put him in the fucking corner of a living room. I can't even imagine what that felt like. I mean, Phil had to have felt like a guest within his own home, a guest who was required to do chores and whatnot, and because of Carl's OCD, Carl didn't have to do shit. Hell, his brother cleaned his room for him. You know what would really amplify, like, that feeling of feeling like a guest in the house? Not having meals cooked for you. Like, I understand that he went for butter, noodles, and toast, but then he started eating normal food, and there was never an offer or invitation to include him in dinners. He was still on his own. Like, we gotta remember, this is also filtered by OP, so we don't have the full extent of what was said by Phil during the cafe confrontation, and what all was actually discussed. Also, in my opinion, the chance that you had to potentially repair the relationship and fix this was when your son was talking to you about these things, and not feeling upset or confused when he explained why he felt like a second-class citizen in your home. The word apologize doesn't appear once in this entire post, and sorry only appears one time, and it was, he never once communicated this, and that I'm sorry, but this was just all news to me. That's not an apology. That's you trying to obfuscate responsibility by moving it as in, well, you never communicated that it bothered you that we moved you into a communal area for your room, so we just assumed you were fine. It comes off as though you don't have any responsibility for these actions or any kind of obligation for an apology because this is news to you. The fact that Phil didn't enjoy your treatment of him is news to you just kind of spells out your favoritism towards Carl and, like, how willing you were to turn a blind eye to your treatment of Phil. Like, imagine coming home from school and finding out that you no longer have a bedroom or a door for privacy, but you're now in an upstairs living room with dividers. Phil would have been 12 at this time. And if you really want to play oblivious, then you being oblivious to your treatment of your son and your blatant favoritism, well, the consequences of that is, congrats, you had no idea your son was actually living a fulfilling life that you're just not a part of. It's a privilege, not a right. Cross-posted from r/am_I_the_asshole. Am I the asshole for destroying my relationship with my daughter and ending my marriage? I, 41 male, have been with my wife, 41 female, for 24 years. We have 3 kids, 2 of which are adults, 21 female and 18 male. My marriage has been a bit rocky for a few years. I've been racked with anxiety, stress, and fear, which I've let affect me and our marriage. A few weeks ago, my daughter came to me and told me that through work with her therapist, she has determined that trauma she experienced during her childhood, caused by me, is responsible for her failed relationships and bad behavior. I shut it down. I told her all her good qualities should be her focus. This worsened our relationship as she said I wasn't listening and continued to double down on me taking accountability. I told her I certainly made mistakes, and a lot of them, but I did my best. The rift significantly worsened when she told me that wasn't good enough, and that I didn't do my best, along with other comments that I took as disrespect and hurtful, such as, You only have an emotional connection if it benefits you. I then began to seek guidance. I spoke about the situation with multiple family members and friends, as well as my therapist. 9 out of 10, including my mother and brother, told me she was being disrespectful, and that she needs to experience life and gain perspective. I tried multiple olive branches to smooth it over to no avail. What did your therapist say, bud? You said 9 out of 10, but you specifically didn't include your therapist as being one of the people that agrees with you. Finally, after trying and her refusing to speak to me, I told her my name is on the deed and implied that if she won't talk to me, then she can get out. This had devastating consequences. My wife immediately told me if I kicked her out, she would divorce me. Several horrible arguments erupted, culminating in my daughter calling the cops on me, trying to have me removed from my home. It didn't work because I was not physical or violent. I recorded the whole fight, and while I'm not innocent, my wife and daughter said some things that really hurt me. I thought, this is it. There's no coming back. The anger towards my daughter for the entire situation came to a head from her calling the cops, and I told her, "Don't talk to me like I'm your father. You are no daughter of mine." I regretted it instantly. All in one moment, I saw all of the hurt and pain this all caused her. I can't stop seeing her crying because of me. I feel like my support system led me down the wrong path. Now my daughter wants nothing to do with me. My wife says divorce is non-negotiable, and I feel lost, confused, broken, and angry. My mother-in-law talked to me and helped me see the forest through the trees, but it's done, and I fucked everything up. Diving deeper, that anxiety, stress, and fear have made me insufferable and difficult that my wife has had enough. I want to save my family. I love my wife and daughter. I'm an idiot. However, my mom and brother say I did and am doing the right thing, but it sure doesn't feel like it. Am I the asshole? I mean, hey, you're I can't even make that joke without laughing. I was gonna say, your mom and brother haven't shown you his straight so far, right? That yeah, keep listening to them and keep asking for their advice. You had a brief moment where you realize that your support system's doing you wrong, and yeah, maybe you should just actually think about that deeper, and then maybe begin to apologize. Because again, you said you spoke with multiple family members, friends, as well as your therapist. 9 out of 10, including your mother and brother, told you that your daughter was being disrespectful. Who's the 10th dentist who disagreed with your perspective? Because I feel like that if your therapist would have agreed, you would have had that as a polished trophy within that paragraph. Even my therapist says that my daughter was being disrespectful. But that's not there. See, all of this could have just been avoided if you talked with your daughter and just taking the approach of, I don't see it that way, but let's explore this. And allowing her to talk about her feelings, talk about the things that she discussed in therapy, and building that connection, that relationship. And maybe, once you hear her full side of things, doing some self-reflection. Like, you didn't even give your daughter a chance to discuss how you could have potentially affected how she was raised and the impact it had with her relationships as an adult. But no. It's, I did my best, so shut up. Even if you did do your best, you still admit that you made some mistakes. And it wouldn't hurt to explore how those mistakes affected your daughter, and to help her not only get past that and get through it, but to also strengthen that relationship. But instead, you decided to pour napalm on the bridge and go, why did she do that? Your daughter just wanted to talk to you about how some of your actions while she was growing up hurt her, and your response was to literally pull the, well, my name's on the deed. Doesn't really give you any brownie points, dude. Cross-posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for letting my husband dump my sister-in-law and niece onto my mother and father-in-law after my family's food had been tampered with? I, 37 female, had taken in my sister-in-law, 41 female, Michelle, after her husband had kicked her out of the house due to him serving her with divorce papers, and my niece, Annie, 15 female, went with her mom. Michelle had called my husband, Josh, 39 male, shortly after it happened, and we both agreed to let Michelle and Annie stay at our house until Michelle got an apartment. That was 2 months ago, and everything seemed to be going well, with both Michelle and Annie helping out around the house despite me telling them they didn't have to, and I didn't think there would be any problems with them living with us. That is, until yesterday, when we decided to reward my daughter Claire, 13 female, for doing well on her mid-unit test with pizza and her favorite blizzard. When Claire went to go get her ice cream out of the freezer after eating her pizza, Annie saw it since she was in the living room, and asked Claire if she could have half of it since she wanted something sweet. Claire refused because it was her treat, and Annie got mad and started to argue with my daughter. I overheard them arguing from the bedroom and went downstairs to see what was happening. Claire explained what happened, and I asked Annie if that was true, which she confirmed it was. So, I explained to Annie that the ice cream was Claire's reward for doing well, and it wasn't fair to make her give up half of it. Annie just said, okay, and I figured that was that. I decided to make spaghetti for dinner that night, since we had all of the ingredients, and once it was done, I went upstairs to ask my husband if he wanted to have his food now or later. When I went back to the kitchen, I saw Annie stirring the pot with a clear lipstick tube next to it that was streaked with something dark red. I asked Annie what she was doing, and she stammered out that she was just helping me by stirring the spaghetti. I didn't buy that for a second. If you're eating something right now, you might want to stop and consider that a content warning. So I grabbed the lipstick tube from the counter, sniffed it, and gagged from the smell. It was period blood, and my God, did it smell absolutely putrid. I thought I was going to throw up. I asked Annie as calmly as I could if she put the blood inside the spaghetti, but she refused to speak until I called both Josh and Michelle down to the kitchen. Annie broke and admitted that she was mad that I didn't make Claire give up the blizzard, so she decided to get back at us by putting the period blood in the food. Once my niece fessed up, I yelled at her, saying that she could have made all of us sick, and that was a ridiculous and cruel overreaction over something so minor. Michelle interrupted me, telling me not to yell at her daughter and that Annie just made a mistake due to the stress of their current situation and the hormones from her period messing with her brain. I said that I didn't care what caused her to do it, and I would never think of tampering with someone's food like that if they said I couldn't have something of theirs, even if I was going through what Annie is. At that point, my husband intervened and said that if Michelle was going to excuse Annie's behavior and not punish her in any way, then both of them would have to live at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. Michelle tried to protest, but my husband shut that down by asking if she was going to punish my niece for what she did. Michelle said no, so my husband told them to pack up their stuff. I didn't say anything because, quite frankly, after what happened, I wanted them gone too. Michelle and Annie packed up all their stuff, and they left with an Uber picking them up from the house. I dumped the spaghetti out and ended up just ordering takeout. A few hours later, my mother-in-law, 66 female, had called me to scold me for letting my husband kick Michelle and Annie, dumping them onto her and my father-in-law. Apparently, they were not prepared for guests and had to call over a younger neighbor of theirs to help them clear out the spare bedrooms, which had been used as a pseudo-storage space. My mother-in-law said that I should have told my husband to let Michelle and Annie stay the night, call them to let my mother-in-law and father-in-law know that they had to take in Michelle and Annie in, then kick the two out. Josh heard what his mom was talking about and took the phone from me. He told his mom that she would have done the exact same thing to him and his grandparents if he tried to pull that while living with them. My husband then hung up on his mom and told me not to worry about it. I'm relieved that Michelle and Annie are out of the house, but I feel guilty that I let my husband push them onto my in-laws instead of doing what my mother-in-law suggested. Am I the asshole? All Michelle had to do was literally just punish her daughter for attempting to poison an entire household in one of the most grotesque ways possible. Just absolutely vile. I'm also given the impression that the mother-in-law knows for a fact that she can't really talk her son out of something and probably knows that the son is justified in the actions of kicking Michelle and Annie out, and that's why she's targeting OP, because OP probably is a bit softer, as we see by this post, and perhaps some kind of negotiation or, guilt-tripping can occur. One of the rare instances where the mother-in-law targets their daughter-in-law because they know their son isn't going to put up with their shit. But yeah, 100% in the right here, because they were given a place to stay, no strings attached. They didn't have to worry about cleaning. They offered to do that. They were in a really good boat. But because Michelle refused to punish her daughter because she poison the household over not getting half of someone's Dairy Queen Blizzard. Now they don't have that. In a fucked up sense, I'm now kind of understanding why Michelle was served divorce papers and why Annie went with Michelle. Cross-posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for telling my mom not to act shocked after warning her multiple times? My 14 female mom has recently forced me to complete my Silver Award project. I had no time. I was juggling online language courses, completing some high school summer credits, etc. I was a busy bitch. At the beginning of the project, I told her multiple times I wasn't happy and didn't want to do the project because I was so busy. I was forced to miss out on important plans, as well as my girlfriend's birthday celebration, a vacation trip with my friend group they had been planning for months, interning at a fantastic company that could have potentially offered me a scholarship, etc., to work on the project. So I had to Google what a Silver Award project was. She's in the Girl Scouts. It's the highest award for cadets. So OP has a lot on their plate. Like a fucking lot. My mom has grounded me for weeks just because I told her that I hated this whole thing. I tried to talk to her about it, but she never listens. I couldn't even catch a break. I ended up going way over the hour minimum of the project. 50 hours was the minimum. I got about 80. Plus, all of the undocumented hours of research she made me do. I was miserable. She didn't even let me pick my own project. She chose the project herself. Silver Awards are supposed to be fun. I have told her multiple times I hated the whole project, and she always yelled at me. Anyways, my mom recently, unexpectedly, dragged me to a meeting with some Daisy troop and demanded that I told them about my experience with earning my Silver Award honestly. So I did. I told them that it took up a lot of my time and I had to miss out on important plans. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told them if they wanted to do the Silver Award, they should make sure they have the time for it. And it should be their choice, not their parents'. I went on to explain how to choose an idea they would have fun with, how to connect with others, and more advice. My mom stood there like she just got shot. After the meeting, she dragged me to the car and yelled at me. How dare I lie to those young girls? I told her that I had explained my experience truthfully, as she said. She said my answer was unbelievable and unexpected. I told her not to act so shocked because I literally told her I hated this shit on many occasions, and she chose not to listen. Did she expect me to show up to that Daisy meeting and act like I had bundles of fun? I may have been an asshole for telling the troop about my experience, but I didn't want them to have the same one as me because I was miserable. Am I the asshole here? Edit to add, the troop leader pulled me aside after and told me she liked my speech. She said she wholeheartedly agrees because she didn't enjoy her Silver Award either as a kid. Edit to add again, a Silver Award is a prestigious community service reward. The Girl Scout must come up with a sustainable solution to a problem in her community. The hour minimum is 50 hours of work. This girl is going to be going places in her future. She's got a really bright future ahead of her. Lots of opportunities, lots of places to go, and not a single one of them is going to be her mother's house for Christmas. While it's okay to push your kid to do extraordinary things and to be the best version of themselves, you gotta remember, they're still a kid. They need time to be a kid. They need time to relax, to enjoy themselves, to enjoy those years. This is the other side of the horseshoe of the enjoys being a parent, but not being a parent. They enjoy pushing their kids so that way they can have something to brag about. Look at all the amazing things my daughter's doing. They like the idea of being a mom to a successful child, but not necessarily a mother to a daughter. Cross-posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for not telling my partner the end of a movie even though I knew it would upset them? Warning, major spoilers for the movie Us, 2019, and minor spoilers for the movie Prisoners, 2013. Me and my partner love movies, and make an effort to watch a film together when we can. Last week, we watched the movie Prisoners. The plot of Prisoners is that two little girls are abducted and their parents attempt to find them and their kidnapper. We both enjoyed it, but they said the movie upset them quite a bit. A couple days ago, we decided to watch the movie Us. I had already seen the film before, but my partner hadn't. The major twist at the end of the movie is that the protagonist was taken as a child by a replica of themselves, who then took their place and lived as them until adulthood. We began watching. The first scene is of the protagonist as a child wandering off by themselves at night on the beach. My partner turned to me and asked if she was going to be kidnapped or killed, since they didn't want to watch another film about a little girl getting abducted. I told them no, as not to reveal the end to them, and we continued the film as normal. After finishing the movie, I asked if my partner enjoyed it. They said yes, but was also upset by the ending, but mostly by me, as I didn't tell them. I said that I didn't want to spoil it for them and that it'd be okay, since the rest of the film was void of references to child kidnapping or anything similar. They told me that it didn't matter, and that they were pissed off at me for not telling them. They then went to bed and didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. Reddit, am I the asshole? Look, if you really didn't want to give your partner spoilers, you should have just taken the approach of, we should look for a different movie then. Because your partner explicitly asked you about something that would be within the movie that would upset them. You told them no because spoilers, and then they got upset. Not just at the events within the movie, but at you for lying to them, because spoilers. Cross-posted from r/whatshouldido. Perfect relationship for a year, I screwed up. Now we've broken up 3 times in 6 months. She's the love of my life. What should I do? I've made a couple posts on this throwaway about my 33 male relationship with my ex, 30 female. We were together roughly a year and a half. The first year was incredible. We had some struggles like every couple, but she was the woman I wanted to spend my life with. We discussed marriage and moving in together. My ex was a survivor of extreme intimate partner abuse that landed the perpetrator in prison for 4 years. I was her first relationship after this. Naturally, she was a cautious person re-entering the dating world, and she had some troubles that dissipated over time, like hypervigilance, poor sleep, a bit sensitive to some things, extremely private about details of the assault and her money, possessions. But these things gradually improved over the year. She's intelligent, hilarious, and strong. Everything I've ever wanted. We became pregnant unexpectedly, and after becoming excited about the baby, she miscarried. This was devastating for her. She had a stillbirth 3 years ago and is very sensitive about pregnancy loss. In the following month, we were, for lack of better phrasing, knowingly less cautious in intimacy and expressed that we really wanted to have a child together. This was around the year mark. I know this is soon. It was very emotionally charged. Then I screwed up. I still don't know much about her past and former partner or even his last name, and I panicked that I might have a child with someone I didn't even really know. While she was asleep with a headache the night after she went to bed, I went through her old journals to read them. She writes a lot and is very private in processing her feelings, and I read through them for an hour. I read some things that bothered me. I panicked and woke her up to ask her about the things I read and confess what I had done. I felt horrible. This was a day after we had been intimate. All guard down. She calmly told me to come to bed, and I fell asleep. I thought things were fine, but she unraveled the next day. She waited a couple of weeks to make sure we hadn't conceived, and then broke up with me. She said it wasn't even the journals that were the issue, but the timing, and that she'd gone to bed trusting me, and then was awakened in the middle of the night. She felt I had completely flipped a switch the moment she might have been bound to me through a child, and I became someone she did not know. I spooked her. But then she called back the next day, and after 6 months, she did this a total of 3 times. Once right after the breach, she regretted the next day. Once the night after a concert I bought us tickets for, she paid me back for the tickets immediately, then reached out a week later, once 2 weeks ago. Each time, it was anxiety in her gut she felt she couldn't ignore, and fear of moving forward in the relationship. I understand I violated her trust, but I told her I couldn't do the back and forth anymore. I texted her on her birthday, which was the due date of the baby we lost in 2 weeks after the breakup. She asked me if I wanted to get together to sit on the due date. I told her I loved her, but that I needed time. I want us to be together, but I don't want an on and off relationship. I don't know why she says she loves me and wants to move past it, but breaks down 2 weeks later and leaves. I'm losing my mind. Is there hope? What should I do? You can roast me for what I did. I know I deserve it. She needs to find someone who's actually deserving of her time, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, she's on again and off again because obviously she has a lot of unresolved trauma and just anxieties and stresses and just so much stuff that she's still trying to work through. She probably keeps coming back on and off again because you're the first relationship that she had after she got out of quite literally hell. And in her mind, she's probably debating between, do I try to find someone new that might be better, or do I stick with the evil that I know? This evil is at least better than the previous evil I knew. Now, I don't know if this is her line of thinking exactly, but this is just coming from someone who has been there and felt that. Felt the pain of wanting to stick with an evil you know, because at least you know it, and you don't have to be worried or be afraid of what other evils you might run into. But that's not even the main focus here. The main focus is the massive violation of trust, and just... Dude, those journals are there for her to categorize and process what she went through. The things that are written in there, if she wanted to talk to you about them, she would have come to you with them when she was ready. Instead, you stumbled upon something you shouldn't have. You woke her up, and honestly, from what I read there, she had an ingrained response to try and calm you down, get you back to bed, de-escalate the situation, and then revisit it in the morning. And of course, I don't know if this is exactly what's going on here, but this is just what I'm reading as someone who was once in a relationship where every day I had to exist in damage control mode. OP committed a massive breach in privacy, and honestly, I hope he doesn't take her back, and I hope he realizes that the best thing for her is for him to walk away. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSups. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup. And you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.